Toronto's latest murder victim, a 20-year-old man killed in a midnight shooting, where it happened and what police are asking for. That's coming up tonight.
And workers dangling 56 stories above the streets of downtown Toronto. We have the details of the rescue outside of a luxury hotel.
And will last-ditch efforts to reopen the Science Centre work for the summer, at least? Some think it will. We'll have more on that coming up.
Goal! Team Canada on the pitch for group play in the Copa America this evening.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thank you for joining us. A 20-year-old man has been fatally shot near Jane and Wilson in the latest instance of deadly gun violence in our city.
And for more on this, we're joined live by CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Steve.
Yeah, Bakari and Lena, according to Toronto Police, they received a radio call just after midnight to attend 40 Falstaff, which is the address behind me here. It's also got a parkette on the south side. They responded to the sound of gunshots or a person shot. When they arrived on scene, they found a 20-year-old man suffered gunshot wounds. He was rushed to hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Now, when I got here this morning, what stood out to me at the scene were the dozens and dozens of shell casings that are ejected from a gun, of course, when it is fired. And I said earlier that there could be two guns or more than one gun for sure in a gunfight. And the homicide squad said to us during a press conference today that 4 suspects got out of a white vehicle outside of 40 Falstaff, and all 4 of them just shot the place up, leaving all those shell casings on the ground to be collected as further evidence. So they do not know if this was targeted or a random shooting. That is part of their investigation, but sadly a 20-year-old young man has lost his life as a result. We did speak with a witness earlier on, and here's some of that conversation.
I was alarmed, and it's not nice when it's on your front doorstep. So yeah, and police were canvassing our floor, everyone's floor, I'm assuming. So they knocking on my door at 10 o'clock this morning. If I saw anything, heard anything, looking over my balcony, and all I could say to them is I heard multiple like crack, 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 like that.
That sounds certainly like a semi-automatic pistol for sure, and that appeared to be what the shell casings were that were on the ground as well. The police are still in the area here. They are canvassing, they are seizing video surveillance, and if you do have information pertaining to the shooting near 40 Falstaff, just after midnight, you are being asked to give the police a call. I'll send it back to the desk.
All right, Steve Ryan reporting live on this. Thanks so much for this, Steve. We are learning new details this hour about the suspect in a quadruple shooting in Woodbridge last week.
Okay, right now let's bring in CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who's been working on this story for us. Beatrice.
Bakari and Lena, this was a quadruple shooting that shook the community in Woodbridge near Casanova Drive when it happened on Friday. But CP24 has now learned some new details about the accused in that quadruple shooting. York Regional Police releasing his identity over the weekend. He is 41-year-old Van Viet Jong. CP24 learning that he was involved in another police investigation in a different jurisdiction earlier this year. Let me take you back to Brampton on January 25th. So just a few months ago now, Lena and Bakari, that's where the OPP alleged that a man struck an officer with his vehicle while fleeing arrest after a traffic stop. The OPP said at the time that the officer was on Highway 10 around 1:30 that afternoon, saw a driver operating their vehicle in a dangerous manner. We were told the officer stopped the vehicle just north of Steeles, and as the OPP officer was trying to arrest the driver, the OPP alleges that man stepped on the gas and fled. Well, CP24 has now obtained the court records, both from the Brampton case with the OPP officer and in connection with Friday's quadruple shooting. And again, we can confirm it is the same suspect involved in both of these situations, 41-year-old Van Viet Duong. When it comes to that shooting on Casanova Drive on Friday, tragically, 2 of the 4 people shot, CP24 confirming it is a mother, a 40-year-old mother, and her 2-year-old son. Both of them lost their lives in that horrific shooting 2 other people. I'm told both adults were injured in that shooting as well. I'm told both of them are in stable condition. The suspect, Mr. Zhuang, remains in police custody when one is charged with first-degree murder. There are 2 counts of it here, along with 2 counts of attempted murder. One is automatically remanded into custody. He had a bail appearance over the weekend and still remains in police custody, obviously awaiting further court dates to answer to these allegations. Lena and Bakari.
All right, thanks for the update, Beatrice. Well, a 14-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the shooting in Etobicoke.
The teen boy was taken into custody not long after shots were fired near Kipling and Finch around 2:30 this afternoon, but police are still searching for another suspect. A large area in an apartment building's parking lot has been taped off by police, and an ATV's in the middle of the crime scene. A lockdown at a nearby school has since been lifted. No injuries have been reported.
Well, the Toronto Youth Cabinet is hosting a town hall on gun violence. It's happening tonight in Rexdale for young people.
This comes after a 14-year-old boy was charged with murder in a mass shooting outside North Albion Collegiate that left 2 men dead. Let's go live now to CP24's Melissa Duggan, who's in Rexdale tonight. Melissa.
Yeah, that's right. So tonight's youth town hall coming just a day after we heard that a 14-year-old was charged in that mass shooting. I'm at the Rexdale Community Hub right now with the executive director of the Toronto Youth Cabinet, Stephen Mensah. And I wonder what your reaction was when you learned yesterday that a 14-year-old was charged in the shooting death of 2 men and attempted murder as well.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely disturbing and unfortunate, but unfortunately, it wasn't surprising. Gun violence in the city of Toronto continues to trend younger and younger, and it's due to decades of disinvestment, purposeful disinvestment in our most vulnerable communities, which has led to seeing young people disproportionately perpetrating acts of violence and also being victims. So yesterday's announcement by the police was just unfortunate.
And you've had this town hall planned before that announcement yesterday.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we had a press conference outside North Albion Collegiate with young people from Rexdale, where we reinforced our calls for the mayor and other levels of government to take on tangible root cause upstream measures to address violence that was seen in the city of Toronto. And so today was a second phase of that larger initiative we're doing in Rexdale to center young people's voices in this conversation, to highlight what they want to see done by our politicians.
I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of parents, of aunts and uncles, loved ones who have young people in their lives. How do you open this conversation about gun violence?
It's never easy, obviously leading in a trauma-informed way, because a lot of, tensions are high, but also emotions. People are traumatized, people are hurt. My heart's broken. I've been reinforcing that messaging daily. It's like I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm fearful, because ultimately I can be a victim. My peers can be a victim, and so these conversations are needed, bringing young people from communities together to heal together and to have meaningful conversations as to our collective solutions.
You're going to be asking for their ideas for solutions as well. I know you're talking to young people all the time. What are you hearing already about some of their suggestions?
Young people know what needs to be done. Young people need employment, meaningful and gainful employment. Toronto has one of the worst youth unemployment rates, and we know young people are facing poverty. Young people need access to safe spaces and more recreational spaces. Young people need more opportunities. I think the core of my messaging is young people have lost hope for a better future, and the city of Toronto and all levels of government need to provide young people with that hope. And how can you do that? By investing in our communities and not disinvestment and taking on downstream approaches of policing first, which we know has never and will never be the solution to addressing the gun violence we're seeing in Toronto.
And it's not just tonight, you have more town halls planned.
Absolutely. We're going to be in every part of the city. Next time we're going to be in Scarborough, downtown, across the city, to center young people's voices and to provide them with a platform to ensure that their solutions are at the center of what our government and all members of society need to be paying attention to.
We're seeing the end of school around this time. What are your concerns about this summer?
It's going to be a violent summer, unfortunately, and I'm an optimist, but to be real, we've not taken the common sense measures to avoid a violent summer, and so we're going to continue to see it. The trajectory that we're already on is not one that's positive, and so I'm fearful and worried about how this summer is going to look like, and I only pray that it's going to be not as violent as we hope and are planning for it to be.
That's a startling outlook for the summer that's to come. Thank you so much for talking with us tonight. Okay, tonight's Youth Town Hall begins about 5:30 is when the doors open. You young people are going to be talking until about 7:30 tonight. We're going to have more updates to come for you.
Okay, and again, that's in Rexdale. CP24's Melissa Duggan. Thanks a lot. Well, the provincial carjacking task force says that it's made more than 100 arrests and recovered more than $10 million worth of stolen vehicles. So police were on hand today to announce the results of Project Titanium, which focused on violent car thefts and break-ins throughout the province. The project led to the arrest of 124 individuals and 177 stolen vehicles, which were recovered.
What is alarming about this investigation is that the vehicle thefts were not simply carried out in the middle of the night on an unoccupied target vehicle. Many of the thefts involved violence, some with forceful entry into homes, with demands that the owners hand over the keys to their vehicles. This investigation involved armed robberies, posing a significant risk to public safety.
It's really concerning that 44% of those arrested were out on bail at the time of their arrest, and 61% were subsequently released on bail yet again. Auto theft remains one of the top revenue generators for organized crime, and this challenge requires a collective effort.
Along with that, police also seized 8 guns. This is a result of Project Titanium.
In other news, the former deputy chief of both Ottawa Police and Durham Police has been charged with sex assaults.
Yeah, the province's police watchdog says that it has grounds to believe Uday Jaswal committed a criminal offense against a woman in 2011. This is when he was an inspector. Jaswal was arrested today and is charged with 1 count of sexual assault. Well, back in 2020, he was charged with misconduct and suspended for allegedly sexually harassing 3 colleagues. This was in Ottawa. He resigned in 2022. Jaswal was also charged with 2 counts of discreditable conduct when he was a deputy chief with Durham Police. That was from 2016 to 2018.
Well, 2 workers are safe on the ground tonight after being stranded 56 floors up outside the St. Regis Hotel. Some scary moments there. Police were called shortly after noon and found the workers dangling in a swing stage. This is what it looked like. They say the stage was being blown around in the wind and police shut down the streets below while firefighters managed to get to the workers from above.
This swing stage was on the 56th floor. There was 4 ropes and 2 of them had broken in the winds. The stage was loose. It was being bantered around by the winds. Toronto Fire's technical rescue team went up to the 57th floor and went over and got the 2 workers off of the swing stage and then it secured the swing stage to the building to keep it from moving around in the winds. The company involved with this operation has been notified they will be here in about 30 minutes to help us either lower the swing stage all the way down or to secure it even more.
We weren't allowed to walk on the sidewalk. We weren't allowed to go anywhere near this area in case, I guess, it fell, which would be horrendous. So we were forced all the way around the buildings and to be safe.
The workers were assessed on scene but did not require medical attention, so everybody is okay. The Ministry of Labor has been called in to investigate.
Okay, right now it's 5:13, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5. And coming up, we have an update today on the efforts to push the province to repair and reopen the Ontario Science Centre.
Organizers say more than 40,000 letters to reopen the Ontario Science Centre have been sent to the Premier.
Yeah, and for the latest on the calls to reverse the decision, let's bring in CP24's Andrew Brennan. So in addition to those letters, there have been, quite a few people coming forward saying that they'll give money to have these repairs made.
Yeah, Bakari and Lena, and we do have more on that later on in the show, so don't go anywhere for people at home to find out how potentially some people are offering up some cash to keep that roof in good condition and make the repairs. But disregarding that right now, as it stands, the Science Centre on Google Maps is closed permanently. The government says that it's going to stay that way and they're going to look for a temporary location. But the Save the Ontario Science Centre Coalition, the opposition parties for just about everyone who's not with the Conservatives, all saying that they are not going to be giving up without a fight. The question is how far can this go when it's already been closed? The gates are all shuttered. There's no way to get inside unless you're an employee. What can happen? You did mention those letters. This is an example of people power. And I should say that of those 40,000, 24,000 and change were written, according to the coalition, since the abrupt closure of the Science Centre last Friday. So the head of the Ontario Green Party has been among those that have been working with the coalition. He says, Mike Schreiner says, that this is ultimately a question of priorities and the government should do good and good by its people.
the growing outrage from people not only here in Toronto but across the province of the Premier to make a decision to shut the Ontario Science Centre down without any notice when the engineering report itself doesn't call for shutting down the Ontario Science Centre is outrageous, it's uncalled for, and people of Ontario are going to fight back until Doug Ford reverses this unjustifiable decision.
Now, that report he's referring to, of course, the one that Infrastructure Ontario had and said was the basis of them abruptly shutting down the Science Centre last Friday. It was given to the media on that Friday, but it was originally in the hands of, we know, Infrastructure Ontario back in March. There was a draft report submitted to them then. The question becomes now, why was this such an abrupt closure, and why did it happen last Friday at the end of the week? Questions we don't have answers to right now. That being said, the fight for this coalition and others does continue. Lena Bakari, back to you.
Okay, Andrew, we're going to be checking back in with you in a little bit about this story. And, also with this story, Sabina Vora Miller has offered $1 million to make repairs to the roof and keep the building open just for a little while longer.
Last week, actually, with our son. And, of course, we can see that there was repairs that needed to be done at the Science Centre, but it didn't look like it was that grave. So I tried to understand what the issues were, how much funding they actually required, and we realized to actually keep it open for the summer, given that, we are right basically at the cusp of summer vacation for children. There's lots of programming happening at the centre this summer as well. We wanted to understand what would it take to keep the Science Centre open at least until the summer. And we realized actually the amount is minuscule, and that is absolutely something our foundation can support, and we do that already. We support a lot of STEM-related activities in the city, especially for underserved communities, and this is right up our alley.
Vora Miller says that she's in talks with the city on possible next steps for an interim science center and is asking the Ford government to come to the table. The Vora Miller Foundation was founded by Sabina Vora Miller and Craig Miller in 2020. The focus of the foundation is to improve the health of the planet and its people.
5:18, 26 degrees, feeling more like 32 out there. Let's check on the evening commute with our traffic specialist, Adjoa now. How's it looking?
Still very busy, Lena Bakari, and we are dealing with problems in the mix. You're headed on the QBW Niagara bound. This is right at the West Mall. Ongoing collision still there, blocking that left lane. Over on the Don Valley Parkway, much earlier issues have all cleared, but what you're left with is volume delays, pretty jam-packed from Bayview Bloor up to the 401. And once you get onto the 401, it's a crawl. It's been that way all afternoon long across the top of the city, and really busy further east on the 401 in towards Durham, but checking in problem-free. A couple of problems outside of camera view. Eastbound 407 approaching Dixie, multi-vehicle collision in the 3 left lanes. Also, southbound 410 ramp to the eastbound 407 not accessible. That is for an ongoing collision. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
It's 5:19, feeling like 32 outside. This is Live at 5. And coming up, inflation was higher than expected last month. We're going to have more on what that could mean for interest rates after the break.
Stats Canada says inflation crept higher last month. The agency says the annual inflation rate rose to 2.9% in May. That's up from 2.7% in April. Not a good sign. The increase was driven largely by higher prices for services, which climbed 4.6% from a year ago. Grocery prices rose 1.5% year over year in May. The inflation reading is expected to play a role in the Bank of Canada's next interest rate decision. That, by the way, is set for next month. July 24th is the date to watch for. Senior investment advisor Alan Small says do not expect interest rate cuts anytime soon.
My message would be, yes, we're starting out cutting rates. This is the first cut that we saw in the month of this last month. And will we cut quickly? The answer is probably not. Do we expect anything major to come out of these cuts? Meaning, are we going to, should we expect to see some sort of relief right away? The answer is no. It's going to take 3 or 4 cuts before anyone starts to feel any relief with respect to the interest they're paying on their debts.
The inflation reading is expected to play a role in the Bank of Canada's next interest rate decision. As we noted, that is next month.
Well, changes to the capital gains tax, they come into effect today.
2/3 of capital gains, the profit made on the sale of assets like secondary residences or stocks, they're now taxable rather than 1/2. For individuals, capital gains of $250,000 or less, the inclusion rate would remain the same at 50%.
Right now it's 5:23, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5, and coming up, Canada takes on Peru. It's happening tonight at Copa America. We'll have a preview next. Canada returns to action at Copa America tonight after dropping their opening match of the tournament.
And for more, we're joined live by CP24's Phil Perkins, who's standing by with a preview. Hi, Phil.
Hey there, Bakari. Hey there, Laney. That's right. So Team Canada, they're tired of all these moral victories. Yes, they played Argentina, the world champions, tough in the first match of the Copa Americas. This is their first Copa America. They played tough. They still lost 2-0. And they are currently at the bottom of Group A, meaning they can't lose against Peru. Kickoff is in just over 30 minutes' time in Kansas City, Kansas, where it's around 33 degrees right now. It is hot. And so they need to win. They have to have this killer mentality, which, taking a look at the roster, just filled with players who are playing in Europe right now who have won trophies. Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Alistair Johnson, Tejan Buchanan, Ismail Kone, Steven Eustachio. All these guys are all playing in Europe at top tier levels of football right now. And they're playing a Peru team who currently also just have 1 point in Group A. They too want to win. They need to advance to the knockout stage, and they're going to be tenacious. They had 18 fouls against Chile in a 0-0 draw. They're going to be no different. They're going to put up the wall and challenge these Canadian offensively talented players to try to find the back of the net. And no pressure is on any more than on Jonathan David. He had 27 goals in the French top league for Lille, and he is rumored to be a transfer target to some big teams in England. Now, we spoke with TSN soccer reporter Matthew Schnetti, who is on the pitch, and he talks about the pressure on David.
He has to start scoring. And he's done so on many occasions, especially in World Cup qualification 2 years ago. But in a major tournament, he hasn't done it yet. And he wasn't speaking to the media this week, Canada Soccer, saying he's focused on the game. But that focus is going to be on him, on Kyle Larin, and that whole offense. Jesse Marsch has said, listen, I want them to get my system down, this pressing, this running, this high-intensity system, and those situations will present themselves, as they did against Argentina. But you can have as many opportunities. If you can't put the ball in the back of the net, the game is as simple as that. Canada's not going to beat anybody.
Yeah, you got to find the back of the net somehow. You got to get those 3 points. Canada had 10 shots on goal against Argentina. Obviously, 0 found the back of the net. Got to change that. Kickoff at 6 o'clock. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Phil. 5:28, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5. A 20-year-old man is the city's latest homicide victim. Police say he died after 4 gunmen got out of a white SUV and then opened fire. We're live at the scene tonight with more. Stay with us.
Latest murder victim, a 20-year-old man killed at a midnight shooting. Where it happened and what police are asking. That's coming up.
Workers dangling 56 stories above the streets of downtown Toronto. We'll have the details of a rescue outside a luxury hotel today.
And will last-ditch efforts to reopen the Ontario Science Centre, at least for the summer, they work? Some think it will. More on this ahead.
And Team Canada on the pitch for group play in the Copa America this evening. We'll tee that up for you.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. A 20-year-old man has been fatally shot near Jane and Wilson. This is the latest instance of deadly gun violence in the city.
And for more on this, we're joined live by CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Steve, what can you tell us?
Well, Lena and Bakari, we know, according to Toronto police, that they received multiple radio calls at midnight near this address here at 40 Falstaff regarding a shooting. When they arrived on scene, they found a 20-year-old man. He was shot multiple times, transported to a hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. So we were at the scene this morning, and I was with Courtney Heels, and I said to her this morning, I was struck by how many shell casings were actually in the parquet. We saw 50 of them a few weeks back over on Mount Olive. There could easily have been 50 shell casings here as well. So I said to her earlier that this would have been a gunfight or more than one gun. And we did hear from the homicide squad earlier on. They said there were 4 guns. 4 suspects got out of a white vehicle, opened fire on a crowd of people that were in this parquet striking the 20-year-old man who died as a result. So this is now a homicide investigation, and the homicide squad are actively looking for suspects. Here is more from a witness who we spoke with earlier on today. Let's listen.
These three buildings are very like lots of young youth living here, so I'm used to them, you know, playing around with stuff, especially like Victoria Day, Canada Day, you know, they get fireworks and they're playing around, so I just assumed it was something like that. I didn't really automatically fathom that it was actual gunshots, because I don't know what a gunshot really sounds like.
There is no known motive as of right now, and we do not know whether or not this was random or a targeted shooting. So back to the desk.
All right, Steve Ryan reporting live tonight. Thank you, Steve. A 14-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with a shooting in Etobicoke.
Yeah, the teen boy was taken into custody not long after shots were fired. This is near Kipling and Finch. It happened around 2:30 this afternoon. But police, they're still searching for another suspect. A large area in an apartment building's parking lot has been taped off by police, and an ATV is in the middle of the crime scene. A lockdown at a nearby school has since been lifted. No injuries are reported.
To Rexdale now, where the Toronto Youth Cabinet is hosting a town hall on gun violence tonight. This is for young people. This comes the day after a 14-year-old boy was charged with murder in a mass shooting outside North Albion Collegiate that claimed the lives of two men.
Okay, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan, who is in Rexdale. And you've been speaking with organizers for this evening's event. Melissa?
Yeah, and now we're talking to a couple of young people who are turning out for this event. It's going to be happening right beside me in a room over here, starting in about half an hour's time from now. Young people encouraged to gather together to talk about gun violence, how it's affecting them, sharing some of their ideas. I'm joined now by Yusuf and Ismat, and I'm wondering why you came out tonight.
I came out tonight because last year I experienced gun violence myself on March 22nd, and I'd like to hear about it more because it happened to me.
Will you tell me about your experience?
Oh, my experience, it was like an hour after school. I was coming up to me with a friend, and I had passed by somebody that was wearing a ski mask and stuff like that. And at the same time, I was talking to my friend on the phone. I don't think the guy realized I was talking to my friend on the phone. So when we interacted, a split second, I looked at him for a moment. And then after we passed by, I heard boom. I thought it was a firework. But then my whole left side just shut down. I went to the floor immediately on the grass, aching in pain. It felt like I couldn't breathe. Felt like needles just kept on hitting the inside of my stomach. And I tried to cry out for Jelani and be like, yo. But my voice couldn't get out. I was like, whoa, what's going on? It's not even happening up here, it's happening down here, so what's going on? And at that moment, I just didn't know what was gonna happen.
That's terrifying. How are you now?
I'm better now, for sure.
And I wonder what your message is that you're going to share tonight.
My message is tonight that we should be more aware of gun violence, especially in the neighborhood we live in. And it could really happen to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what size, what age, it could happen to anybody. Because last year I was 17, now I'm 18, so it's doesn't really matter to anybody who you are.
I'm so sorry to hear that you went through that. I'm glad you're doing okay right now. And I wonder what brought you out here tonight, Ismat?
So here at the Hub, I'm always here. I am a youth here. I'm also a staff member here. And I always do homework help here. I love the staff that are here. I love the community that is provided in the Hub. And I also do go to North Albion, which is where the incident happened, behind the school. And I just feel
talking about the mass shooting that happened earlier this month.
Yes, the shooting that happened earlier this month. And I just feel like as I'm leaving the school, as I'm graduating, I would try to leave my mark and my impact on the students however way that I can, and show up to as many events as I possibly can to get the message out and the word out to try and stop this, because it's a growing epidemic and I don't want to continue to see this happening for a continuous amount of years.
You're both sharing a very powerful message tonight. It's going to be messages like that that are going to be shared at this youth town hall. It's happening at the Rexdale Community Hub tonight. Conversations are set to begin around 6 o'clock and stretch until about 7:30. And as we heard from one of the organizers, this is just one of several youth town halls that are going to be held across the city on gun violence. Back to you.
All right, so many important conversations. Glad you're having them. Melissa Duggan live in Rexdale tonight. And we're learning new details about the suspect in a quadruple shooting in Woodbridge last week.
Yeah, right now, let's turn to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who's been working on the story for us. Beatrice.
Bakari and Lena, what happened in Woodbridge was absolutely horrendous. 4 people shot on Casanova Drive on Friday, 2 of them dead, a mother and son. 2 others remain injured after being shot as well. I'm told both of them are adults. Both of them, thankfully, are in stable condition. York Regional Police, the homicide unit, they're announcing a quick arrest in that investigation. 41-year-old Van Viet Duong, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder as well. He's from the city of Toronto, and now CP24 has learned the accused in that Woodbridge quadruple shooting was actually known to police. He was involved in another interaction with a different police service, an OPP officer, on January 25th of this year. Let me take you back to that day, because the OPP put out a press release shortly thereafter alleging that a man by the same name, Van Viet Duong, had an interaction with an Ontario provincial police officer. The provincial police officer, according to that press release, was on Highway 410 that afternoon, January 5th, saw a driver driving in a dangerous manner, according to the OPP. That OPP officer tried to stop the driver, to arrest the driver, successfully made that stop. And then the OPP alleged that when their officer was trying to make that arrest, they alleged the driver, who again police allege is Van Viet Duong, fled the scene. And while fleeing the scene, he allegedly struck that OPP officer. And so we've obtained the court documents. He's facing a number of charges, 5 different ones, in fact, in relation to that interaction with the OPP officer, who, by the way, sustained minor injuries. But at the time he was charged with dangerous driving, resisting arrest, assaulting a peace officer, flight from police, stunt driving, and possession of drugs as well, Lena and Bakari. So the accused, again, in the Woodbridge quadruple shooting, known to police from an interaction with an OPP officer back on January 25th. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman with the very latest on this. It's 5:39, 26 degrees. Let's get a check on the rush hour commute with traffic specialist Adela Bois.
Oh, thank you, Bakari. And we're dealing with some major issues on the northbound 410. There is no access on the ramp that takes you to the eastbound 401. You're being forced onto the westbound side. I'm not too sure why. They're saying it's closed for a collision. They haven't zoomed in on it. MTO hasn't, and 407 Control, I don't have cameras out through that stretch, but that ramp is not accessible. You're seeing traffic going through, but again, they're being forced onto the westbound lanes. Headed towards the 401. It's been a very busy afternoon, but it looks like all earlier issues have all been cleared, and it remains very busy on the Gardner on the westbound side, exiting the downtown core, and on the eastbound side as you make your way in. On the 407 eastbound approaching Dixie, we are still dealing with that multi-vehicle collision. 3 left lanes are occupied. And on City Street, just getting rid of a serious collision in the downtown core. Jarvis now closed both ways between Front and King. I'll send it back to you.
Adwa, thanks so much. 2 workers are safe on the ground after being stranded 56 floors up outside the St. Regis Hotel.
And police recall shortly after noon, they found the workers dangling in a swing stage 56 stories in the air. They say that 2 of the 4 ropes holding the stage broke, and it was being blown around by the wind. Police blocked off the streets below. Firefighters accessed the 57th floor and pulled the workers to safety.
It's always a dangerous situation. As I said, there was 4 ropes. 2 of them were broken. It was not secured very well. It was being moved around by the winds. So the crews got the workers off quickly, which is our priority. And then they secured the we have secured the swing stage to the building. It is safe at the moment, and now we're going to work further to get it all the way down.
At the start of my lunch break, about 1 o'clock, I came out and there was fire trucks and police and everything rushing down the street and blocking off traffic. And I was on the phone with my mom, and all of a sudden I came back and there's tape everywhere. And I looked up and there was a bulge. It looked like something hanging off the side of the building. I thought maybe window cleaners or something, but it ended up, yeah. And then when I was forced around the block when I came back, it was no longer on the outside of the building and only the one part of the crane was hanging over. And then I heard you explaining what was happening.
The workers were assessed on the scene, but they didn't require medical attention. The Ministry of Labor has been called in to investigate.
541, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5. The Liberals lost a seat they've held since 1993 in the Toronto St. Paul's by-election. We'll have more on what that could mean for Justin Trudeau's political future next. it appears the Liberals have lost their decades-long stronghold on Toronto's St. Paul's. Unofficial results show Conservative Don Stewart won the riding by a margin of almost 600 votes. Stewart trailed behind Liberal candidate Leslie Church for most of the night, but took the lead as the last few polls reported. Vote counting took longer than usual due to a record number of candidates on the ballot. It's a stunning flip for the riding, with the Liberals having maintained a seat there for more than 30 years. It's also a significant victory for the Conservatives when you consider the fact that the party hasn't won a seat in Toronto since 2011. The seat was considered a must-win for Trudeau and is a major loss that could dictate his future as leader of his party.
This was obviously not the result we wanted, but I want to be clear that I hear people's concerns and frustrations. These are not easy times, and it's clear that I and my entire Liberal team have much more work to do to deliver tangible, real progress that Canadians across the country can see and feel. We'll never stop working and fighting to make sure that people have what they need to get through these tough times. My focus is on your success, and that's where it's going to stay.
The message for people in this room right now is one of thanks, and that's all I can offer at this moment. But thank you to each and every one of you that are in this room right now. I'm here, and you're here because of all the hard work we've done at St. Paul's since February.
Finally, the blue wave is coming. It's great news for Canada and young people and affording, a house, a living. Justin Trudeau has to go.
I thought it'd be close the other way around. I thought it would be a Liberal 500 vote victory versus a Conservative 500 vote victory, which it seems to be.
The apartment tax, all the increase in grocery prices and everything. So I believe that I see Conservatives going for the win.
It's 5:46, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5. And coming up, Canada takes on Peru. It's happening tonight at Copa America. We'll have a preview next.
Welcome back. Canada will return to action at the Copa America this evening as group play continues.
Yeah, the Canadians are coming off of a loss in their opening match of the tournament. The squad fell 2-0 to top-ranked Argentina. Canada is going to square off against Peru tonight in Kansas City. The club will then head to Florida to face Chile in Orlando on Saturday.
Ultimately, do or die, it might sound dramatic, but when you speak to the members of this men's team, they know how significant this night is. Take away the opposition. Not so much that certainly Peru, ranked 31st in the world, is in the same kind of ranking neighborhood as Canada at 49. But this is significant because this team is tired of having moral victories. I said that to Alphonso Davies after that game against Argentina. He said the attitude of the team has to change. And that attitude, there are a bunch of winners on this team who have won titles while playing with their teams in Europe. But winning as a group in a major tournament is significant.
And two of soccer's biggest stars squared off at Euro 2024 today.
It's the man in the mask for France. 1-0.
Yeah, Kylian Mbappe led his France squad against Robert Lewandowski in Poland. Mbappe scored from the penalty spot in his first game since breaking his nose. Lewandowski responded for Poland, and the match ended in a 1-1 draw. Well, France finished as runner-up to Austria in Group D and will play the runner-up in Group E, which could be Belgium, Romania, Slovakia, or Ukraine, July 1st. Poland has been eliminated.
Press. Right, the reflection, it's an own goal. Yet another own goal. And Austria.
And a late goal for Austria sealed the 3-2 upset over the Netherlands, advancing them to the knockout stage of the European Championship as group winner. The scoring started with an own goal by Dutch forward Daniel Malin in the 6th minute. The teams traded goals until Marcel Sabitzer scored the winner in the 79th minute. Netherlands also advances out of the group stage thanks to the results of other matches.
And the Hockey Hall of Fame has announced this year's inductees.
It's Mike Gardner, and I am the chair of the Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee. And I just want to let you know, along with Lanny, that you have been now chosen for honored membership in the Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2024. Congratulations, Paolo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for
great news for me. I hope it's I don't know what to say.
Well, the newest members of the Hockey Hall of Fame are headlined by notable names such as Pavel Datsyuk, Jeremy Roenick, and Shea Weber, Natalie Darwitz, and Chrissy Wendell-Pohl. They were also announced as inductees. Datsyuk played 14 seasons with the Detroit Red Wings, leading them to 2 Stanley Cups in 2002 and 2004.
5:52, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5, reaching a tipping point. Canadians' attitudes toward tipping is changing. That's according to a new survey. We'll take a closer look next. As the cost of dining out continues to rise, a new poll is now shedding light on Canadians' attitudes towards tipping.
Yeah, 25% of Canadians surveyed by Lightspeed Commerce say they're tipping less. That was the highest number across all regions polled. 67% report feeling increased pressure to tip. 77% say that they're opposed to auto-tipping prompts on digital screens. 34% want the need for tipping eliminated altogether. The survey also found that the most common reason Canadians feel pressure to tip is to avoid appearing cheap.
And for a closer look at all this, we're joined live by etiquette expert Thomas Farley, also known as Mr. Manners. Thank you for joining us. It's good to be with you. Is any of this surprising to you? Is tipping getting out of control? What do you think?
Lena, there's no question it is out of control. In fact, I did a TED Talk on this very topic last year called The Tipping Invasion. So the trend we're looking at, and this is happening throughout North America. I'm based in New York, but of course, what we're seeing here in the U.S. is very similar to what you're seeing in this Lightspeed study in Canada. The study, in fact, was a global study, and it looked at 7,500 different respondents, 1,500 of them being Canadian. And unfortunately for Canadians, the results of this particular study indicated that Canadians of all the countries surveyed are the ones who are lowering their tipping amounts by the most, by the greatest amount, by 25%. So 25% are tipping less than before because of this feeling of pressure and, of course, layered on top of that, inflation.
Okay, so Thomas, is tipping etiquette situational?
Bakari, so there are certain scenarios where we've got long as cultures, long established traditions of tipping. So, for example, you sit down in a restaurant and you have a server waiting on you. That's a situation where this is long established. What's new post-pandemic are these tip screens, these tablets where suddenly you're being, yes, pressured, guilt-tipped, as we say, into tipping because the person over your shoulder is certainly watching to see what you're doing because they're probably just as confused as you are. But it's embarrassing. We feel pressured. Retailers and small independent coffee shops, bakeries know this, and they can do this as a means of rewarding their own employees without the money coming out of their pockets. I think what's happening here is a little bit of a backlash. Consumers are saying enough. There's only so much discretionary income any of us have. And the more you keep coming to us for tips for every sort of transaction, the more we finally need to push back and resist.
And I have to admit, I think I, along with other people, are confused. I think people don't know what the protocol is anymore. Is there a rule of thumb? Do you tip when you're picking up food or a coffee?
Lena, my general advice is if someone has truly gone above and beyond, so perhaps you've taken a ride share and the person has helped you with your luggage and they've given you a bottle of water during your ride and offered you a charging cable for your iPhone during your ride and taken a great shortcut. This is someone who not only has earned a tip, but they deserve a tip, truly, as opposed to the individual who's surly with you, who's just phoning it in. If someone's merely scanning a bag of potato chips, handing it to you, and you then get a tip screen, how much would you like to tip? You are fully within your rights, both etiquette-wise and as a consumer, to hit no tip for a transaction that simple. It's really those established things. So you're getting a haircut, you're getting a massage, a manicure. Where those individuals, this is baked into the equation that a tip is part of their compensation versus a nice to have. And the nice to have is where we as consumers really can vote yes to a tip or no to a tip without any feelings of.
All right, etiquette expert Thomas Farley. It is okay to not tip. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
It's 5:59, 26 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news from CP24.